Hey guys, I'm back. Last time around I showed you guys this little piece. This is one of the paint tray designs that I've been playing around with. Thought I was at the final version of it. Got it done. Noticed a few minor things in it, namely there was a little bit of bending in the shelves. The bending in the shelves was primarily due to the material that I used. This one, the one you're seeing here, was built out of scrap, which is the standard prototyping process. If you're going to build a prototype, you're going to build it out of leftover pieces, and there were a few pieces that were warped, so that did give some bending in it. There is a way that I corrected that. I just added some additional bracing at the back of it that got the thing solved. But the unit itself turned out pretty well. I like the design of it. All the bottles sit in at an angle, as I mentioned before, so they're a little bit easier. They're less likely to fall out and that kind of stuff. And it does still have the tray at the top so you can put stuff. But since people were asking about it, and one issue that people were wanting was more density. They wanted to be able to put more stuff in it. So I went back and did another version of it. So we'll get this one out of the way and show you this version of it. This version of it, you notice, number one, the density is a lot higher. Where the first one had 5 shelves, this one's got 2, 4, it's got 6 shelves plus the top, so you get a little bit more. It's still at a slight angle, meaning that they tilt back slightly, but they're pretty much horizontal. I think I'd put like maybe a 3 or a 5 degree tilt in them, which is just enough to keep the bottles from rolling out and those sorts of things. One thing I didn't want, and I've seen this with ones that have perfectly horizontal shelves, you put stuff up there and it's very easy for stuff to fall back out, especially if you wall mount it and the wall isn't straight, or when you put your screws and what have you and it kicks out, the top of it just a little, it's enough to have stuff tilt and fall forward. So with this one I don't really worry about that. Design on it is, it's pretty sturdy. This one I went a little bit more on, so it's like I'll show you on the side here. You can see that that one would be horizontal, whereas this one there's just a slight angle to it, and that little bit of an angle gives me just enough to keep them from falling back. Probably the biggest difference is the amount of material used in it. This one, you notice that the backs are full, and what I did to eliminate some of the bending or potential for bending is the main shelf that it sits on attaches to the back piece, so that way I've got a nice solid design for it. I also added some additional bracing in the feet at the bottom with the cutout, so that this piece goes under the previous one. The 2 bottom pieces, if these were them, they would bow slightly, and that would cause it kind of to feel a little flimsy. With this one, I don't really have that issue. Height-wise, also, this one is a little bit larger. It's about a ½ inch taller than the other one, so you're up to about 12.5 inches versus the 12 inches of the other. That extra ½ an inch gave me a little bit more space to play with. Main reason for that extra space is this one right now is spaced at about 1.5 inches between the shelves, but if you're running paints like I can find one of them, and of course, there we go. If you're running one of the various dropper bottle size paints, those will fit, but you notice that they're a lot shorter. So what I did is I also did a 1-inch version of it. So you can either get it with the 1.5 inch spacing or the 1-inch spacing if you're doing dropper bottles. If you're doing dropper bottles, you'll actually get 8 rows of droppers in it as opposed to the 6 that you're seeing here with the 1.5 inch. Since the majority of my paints are 1.5 inch size, and that's what I'm using for displaying, those are what I built this one to. I can also do them where if you wanted to split them up. So for example, if you wanted 1.5 inch and 1-inch trays or spacing in both of them, you can. One other thing that I did on this one that I don't know if I showed you on the previous one, and I'm going to spin this around all the way so you can see it. In the top, I actually put little slots. One problem that I've always had with anything that has kind of an open top like this, where you've got a top shelf, is you get stuff stuck in it. It just happens. Little bits and pieces of stuff get dropped in there, everything from little flakes of wire through model bits and those kind of things. It's kind of a pain in the butt to clean out. With this, they're a little bit easier to clean out because you do have those slots. But that's really it for the design. Haven't worked at the full pricing on this one yet. It will eventually appear in the... It'll probably appear at the bottom of this video. If not, it'll definitely be on the blog page. But I think with this one, I've pretty much nailed it down to the final. This one does not replace the other one, though. So the other one with the full angle shelf, the first one. And both of these up here at the same time. So both of them will still be available. I'm going to angle this just slightly so we can center up. Both of those are still going to be available, as will all the other paint options. So got a little bit of everything. Everything from if you're wanting for, like, for example, I'm a big fan of the angled ones with it at the tighter angle. This gives me a little bit more versatility. I don't worry about stuff falling out of it. But if you're wanting the horizontal style, we can do that. And of course, all the other ones are still there. So I still have the mini tray as well, and the bigger paint unit. So that's really it for this video. If you like it, check it out on the blog. I'll have some pictures up and hopefully pricing by the time that I get this video posted. Alright guys, take care.